it's Dina. Today I wanted to update us on our poetry challenges. So the very last one we had was a rhyme challenge, and we went from rhyme into couplets. And so from couplets, I asked us to try a advanced couplet form as a sonnet. And so I will share with you the sonnet that I wrote here, and then you can see another video. If you had trouble writing a sonnet, I'm going to do a little more advanced video about the steps that I actually went through and show you my notes and show you sort of some tricks behind writing sonnets. Sorry, my voice is a little weird tonight. So, the sonnet that I wrote for last time is a Petrarchan sonnet, and it is about having lifelong stomach problems. And that's the sonnet that I wrote for last time. Actually, I'm not going to read it here because I've read it on the channel already as a separate standalone video, or I will soon. So I'm just going to link it here at the end instead of taking our time to do that. What I want to do is I want to move on to a new challenge tonight that has nothing to do with sound. I want us to take a little break from sound, and then we'll come back to it in a week or so. But the challenge that I want to do tonight is about metaphor and simile, and what it means to say something is like something else, or something is something else. And so I'd like you to think about the differences between those two things. It's a really subtle difference. But you know, we have this famous poem, "My love is like a red, red rose." Yeah. And so you're not saying my love is a rose. But then there is another poem that says, "Love is a rose that blooms in June," or something like that. So what does it mean to say that something is like something or something is something? So I want you to play with this a little bit this next week. I want you to think about simile. Simile is saying this is like something. This thing is like something else. And then you think about all the ways it's like it. And the best way you can do this is to think of two absolutely different things, or just to imagine two completely random things, right? Like take one thing that is an abstract noun, we would say. An abstract noun is something that you cannot feel, touch, hear, smell. An abstract exists in the abstract. So love, life, hope, dreams. Yeah. So if you take an abstract noun, anyone, and now pair it with something you just got around your room, like a notebook, an empty notebook. Yeah. So now you say, a dream is like an empty notebook. How? And so that is a simile. A metaphor is when you don't say it's like it, you just say it is this thing. A metaphor is this. A television is a doorway to other times and places. So it's not a literal doorway, it's a metaphorical doorway. And you can be one of those people when somebody around you says, "Oh, literally, I just literally feel, I just literally this and that." It's like 9 times out of 10, literally, it's not true. But figuratively, it is true. Metaphorically, it might be true. So I want to share with you a few of these kinds of, we call them extended metaphor, And so if you write a poem and you make the whole poem about one comparison, one thing, then it's called an extended metaphor. And the whole poem can be one thing. And so I want to remind you of a resource that I shared with you earlier, archive.org, O-R-G. And when you go there and you create a free account, it's an open library, United States library, available from all over the world, apparently, because I'm getting it in Germany and I'm not using any kind of protocol. But there's a particular book you can look for that I will link in the description below. It was one of my first books of poetry as a child. It's called Reflections on a Gift of Watermelon Pickle, received from a friend called Felicity. And that is one of the poems in the book. I think it's by Stephen Dunning, but there's a whole bunch of other poems in the book, and there's some wonderful poems in the book. And so tonight I'd like to share with you a couple of these poems that are in the book as you're looking at extended metaphor and simile. So the first thing I want to look at is on the let me go ahead and do this one because I'm here, and then we'll go backwards. And so let's see, what page is it here? This is page 39 in that book by Dunning. And it's a poem by Gerald Raftery. I thought it was Rafferty, but I guess it's Raftery. I guess I've been saying it wrong. It's called Apartment House. I've also stolen it and put it in the description below, as I've done with the other poems. But do try to check this book out, and you will have to borrow it. You have to make an account. It's like a library. You make an account, and then you come in and you check out a book, you borrow a book, and it gives you 30 minutes, something like that. You check it back in, you can check something else out. It's a really cool online library, especially if you're looking for poetry or any kind of resources. So this one is called Apartment House. A filing cabinet of human lives, where people swarm like bees in tunneled hives, each to his own cell in the towered comb, identical and cramped. We call it home. So that is a fun poem that has a simile in it within a large metaphor of thinking of an apartment house as a filing cabinet. And so this is one on the page right before that by Charles Malam. It's called Steam Shovel. And so think about the way a steam shovel looks. And they have a picture of one here. They're trying to, I think, appeal to young people here. But they have a steam shovel. Yeah? And so the poem is called Steam Shovel. The dinosaurs are not all dead. I saw one raise its iron head to watch me walking down the road beyond our house today. Its jaws were dripping with a load of earth and grass that it had cropped. It must have heard me where I stopped, snorted white steam my way, and stretched its long neck out to sea and chewed and grinned quite amiably. It's by Charles Malam. And one on the same page is called The Toaster. The Toaster, William J. Smith. A silver-scaled dragon with jaws flaming red sits at my elbow and toasts my bread. I hand him fat slices, and then one by one. He hands them back when he sees they are done. So these kinds of ways of seeing something as something else. What do you get different? How do you see something different if you imagine it to be like something else? And so for next week, I'd like you to work on a simile. A simile, an extended metaphor poem, maybe a poem that has a couple of different similes in it, or one big metaphor of something that breaks it down to how it's like these other things. And I just want you to try to imagine the most crazy connections you can find between two different things and see what you can come up with. And that's it for this week. Thanks for dropping in. These are a series, and if you want to see the earlier ones, just go to the playlist, and we will look then to see you next time. There will be an advanced challenge dropping on Wednesday, and we have a new poetry challenge dropping every Monday. And you'll see if you check my list, I will answer the questions, I will answer the challenges myself. I'm reading my poems on separate videos now to save a little time. So, hope to see you next week. Hope you do some good writing this week. Take care. From my mom. Be free.